James Cooley Show, It's Your Life, can be heard every Sunday at 9 p.m. right here on The Answer San Diego. Life is full of circles, cycles, phases, and stages. It's your choice to ignore or embrace them. Motivational speaker, author, military veteran, and founder of the J.C. Cooley Foundation, James Cooley and his guest will inspire and equip you to strive for your own greatness and overcome adversities. Listen to The James Cooley Show, It's Your Life, every Sunday at 9 p.m. right here on The Answer San Diego.
The James Cooley Show, It's Your Life, can be heard every Sunday at 6 p.m. right here on 660 AM The Answer in Dallas-Fort Worth. Life is full of circles, cycles, phases, and stages. It's your choice to ignore them or embrace them. Motivational speaker, author, military veteran, and founder of the J.C. Cooley Foundation, James Cooley, and his guests will inspire and equip you to strive for your own greatness and overcome adversities. Listen to The James Cooley Show, It's Your Life, every Sunday at 6 p.m. right here on 660 AM The Answer in Dallas-Fort Worth.
The James Cooley Show, It's Your Life, can be heard every Sunday at 6 p.m. right here on The Answer. Life is full of circles, cycles, phases, and stages. It's your choice to ignore or embrace them. Motivational speaker, author, military veteran, and founder of the J.C. Cooley Foundation, James Cooley and his guests will inspire and equip you to strive for your own greatness and overcome adversities. Listen to The James Cooley Show, It's Your Life, every Sunday at 6 p.m. right here on The Answer.
Yeah. Dr. James J.C. Cooley. The James Cooley Show. It's your life. Yeah. Hello, welcome to the James Cooley Show, It's Your Life. I'm your host, Dr. James J.C. Cooley. And of course, the whole month of February, we're celebrating Black History Month. We got a guest on the show. She was on the show a while back, but we're going to talk about this topic that I know that need to be talked about. And a lot of people might get mad, but we're talking about systematic racism. Is this some of the things that we're going to point things out and things that we can do to try to educate the public that, in case you did not know these things, we're going to enhance you. I tell you what, we're going to get this thing started with Todd. I want to patch all the different networks in, and we want to get the party started. Are you ready, Todd?
Hey, it's your life with Dr. James.
Hello, welcome to the James Cooley Show, It's Your Life. And I tell you what, out in radio land, out in television land, podcast land, welcome to the show. We got an absolutely fantastic show coming your way today. All of February is Black History Month. And we're going to talk about things to try to educate the public, also educate each other on certain things that many people in the world, in the United States, might not understand about what Black people think and certain things as it relate to systematic racism and a lot of other things. And I tell you, we got this absolutely fantastic guest on today that's going to talk about this. And if you want to be part of the conversation, whichever platform that you're watching us on or listening to us on the radio, if you listen to us on the radio or your platforms, all you do is dial 1-888-344-1170. Todd will put you through. On the platform that you're watching us on, all you have to do is just go to the comments, ask any question that you might have, and I promise you we'll get you an answer. How you doing, Dr. Cooley? How you doing today?
I'm doing great. And you know what? This topic's not going to make people mad. It's going to educate them. So this program is all about information and education and motivation. So we're excited to bring back this amazing guest to the show to discuss this topic.
Wow. I'm excited to have her back on because I was so inspired and so intrigued when she was on about a week and a half ago. And this young lady right here is full of wisdom, knowledge, and she's going to make you understand what we're talking about today. So, Michelle, can you please introduce the title of the show, the purpose of the show, and introduce this absolutely fantastic guest?
Oh, most definitely. So the topic of today's show, the title is The Uncomfortable Topic, Systematic Racism, the Story of Black America. And we're welcoming back Dr. Stephany Powell. She's a Chief Educator, Senior Advisor at Positive Change Consultants, leading expert on human trafficking, Adjunct Assistant Professor at Los Angeles Trade Technical College and USC, and she is an author. She's going to discuss racism is not about the individual of a dominant group, life concepts and the consequences of systematic racism, racist ideas historically developed to justify everything from slavery to segregation to mass incarceration, and also the ideas of Kendrick Lamar's halftime performance and symbols of systematic racism, which he did the halftime show on the Super Bowl. So again, Dr. Stephany Powell, wow. She's a former Vice President, Director of Law Enforcement Training and Survivor Services at the National Center on Sexual Exploitation. She provided crucial training to law enforcement nationwide. Following her retirement, she spearheaded Journey Out, a nonprofit aiding victims of human trafficking, significantly expanding its reach. She has educated over 12,000 professionals and authored key resources on human trafficking, including My Choice, My Body, My Rules. Recognized internationally, she continues to consult and train law enforcement on human trafficking and related issues. Welcome back to the show, Dr. Stephany Powell.
You know I love the applause.
One more time. Hey, welcome back to the show, Stephany. How you doing?
I'm doing good, Dr. Cooley. Thank you so much again for inviting me and all the work that you do in order to educate others.
Well, that's our job. That's our mission, is to educate others as much as we can and kind of get rid of the stigma or ignorant. Now, I said it like that because a lot of people think sometimes that people are ignorant because they don't understand or they don't embrace certain things. So that's why I believe that it's up to us to educate our public, our viewers, our listeners all across the world. So I'm just so intrigued with you when you was on the show a couple of weeks ago. I said, yeah, we got to get her back on, especially during Black History Month. So, Steph, I want to start off for the people that might have not caught your show when you was on here last time. Can you tell them a little bit about you? What make you click? What makes you happy? What makes you want to educate everybody that everybody has purpose and is here for a reason?
I think for me, just as an individual, I was always taught to always give back. No matter what you become, you always give back. So I have given back in the field of education. I have given back in terms of my advocacy of human trafficking. But another way that I've done this as well, I was a Los Angeles police officer for 30 years, so again, giving back in that way. But I think it's really, I always wanted people to understand me and understand my culture. And so that is also my way of giving back. So through teaching.
And you, just like you mentioned, you've been out there. You worked with special units for sex trafficking as a police officer. And so you have seen a lot of things and many have not. And you understand a whole lot of things that many need to understand. Can you talk about that, your experience as a police officer and as a special advocate as it relates to sex trafficking?
So I was in charge of a vice unit. So I worked a lot with the issue of prostitution. And then when I started to really understand that not everybody in prostitution was a victim of human trafficking, but every victim of human trafficking was involved in prostitution. And then looking at the fact that I was coming in contact so often with women and girls, as well as men that looked like me. And I think from there, it was really important to educate law enforcement on the victimology of the people that we were coming in contact with. So that is what really spurred me into it. But even with my experience from South Central LA and dealing with my experience with law enforcement before I became a law enforcement officer, I started really dabbling and studying about the issue of race in our criminal justice system since I was part of it. And one thing has kind of led to another. Now I'm teaching a class at USC called Inequality in American Political and Social Policy. So everything for me always comes full circle.
It does. It does. You know, one thing that I want to bring to the system right now, bring into this conversation, is systematic racism. Many that I know said there's no such thing, especially if they're non-Black or whatever that is. They said, well, we don't see it, we don't feel it. Can you talk about the topic of today's show?
So we'll start at the beginning in terms of what is systemic racism, right? And so we have to look at it. It's a very complex system. And it's a complex system that deals with policies and laws and practices that result in the unfair treatment of people based on their race. But here's the interesting thing. So watch this. Race has a changing same. Race has a changing same, meaning that in America, we continue to categorize race. And what's built into that is how people are treated. And what's built into that are the laws that are implemented to keep it that way. But I think what needs to be really understood is that when we use the term racist, it's not an individual issue. Because if that was the case, when racists died, racism would be over with, right? But no, it is an issue of a system that personifies racism and racist thought. So there's a very quick quote that I think is really important by Eduardo Bonelli. He says, "The prejudice of individuals is not and can never be the basis for maintaining racial inequality. Racial domination would not be possible without ideology." So it's an ideology. So I think people have a way of personalizing this and say, we're talking about Mr. Jones. We're talking about Mr. White, so to speak. No, we're talking about an ideology.
And hold that, hey, Dr. Stephany, hold that thought. We got to take a station break, but I want to come back because you own to something. You own to something. I tell you what, if you want to be part of this great conversation, all you have to do is just pick up the phone dial 1-888-344-1170, or go to the platform that you watch this on. Go to the comments. Ask any questions that you might have. I promise you, we'll get you an answer. Yes, your life, and we'll see you story.
Your life. That's right. Dr. James J.C. Cooley. The James Cooley Show. It's your life.
Really get a chance to know who you are. And once you know who you are, you truly know who you are, love who you are. you are. You're a masterpiece. Love who you are. Love who you were born to be. Love me some me. That's what I'm talking about. When you leave high school, you gotta know today or tomorrow, hopefully today, what your plans are. Hopefully, there is no bad decision unless there is no plan. Create, collaborate, commit with confidence. Commit with what? Commit with what? And everything that you do.
Noah Dingley here, producer of The James Cooley Show, It's Your Life. And the new audio version of James' book, Country Boy, City Boy, A Journey That Ain't Over Yet, is a must-have. James shares his true life story of struggle and success in America. It's both a cautionary tale and a roadmap to achieving the American dream. Get the new audio version of Country Boy, City Boy, A Journey That Ain't Over Yet by James Cooley on Amazon.com or wherever audiobooks are sold.
Doctor, James, JC, Cooley, the James Cooley Show. It's your life. Doctor James, JC, Cooley, the James Cooley Show. It's your life.
Over Yet by James J.C. Cooley, available on Amazon and everywhere books are sold.
Hey, yes, your life. With Dr.
Hello, welcome back. Welcome back to the James Cooley Show. It's Your Life. And I tell you, Dr. Stephany was on the road. I want to pick it up from this ideology because she was, I think you really broke it down on that one. And people need to understand it's not, people are not born racist for as a whole, but doing an ideology where they are taught or led to be that way. That's what caused people to think a certain way. And I tell you, whatever you said in the last minute of the show, these numbers have spiked tremendously. I'm looking at them. So let's pick it up from there. Want to pick it up from ideology?
When we look at the ideology, is how we're taught. So let's look at it this way. Think about this. If we were in a swimming pool and the water was racism, because that's the foundation of how we are taught in the United States. We look at each other based on race. So we learn whether or not we should be afraid of somebody, if somebody's smarter than the other. So we're swimming in this pool of racism because of the systems that are associated with it. So that means we are all in it. So if we're all in it, we all need to understand it. So we understand how each of us are navigating and being able to swim in this pool. When we think of it in that way, then I think we become less afraid and knowing that we need to understand it so that we all can swim in this pool together.
I like that. I love it. You break it down like that. So, systemic racism, it plays a part in societal perceptions of identity and self-worth, especially for people in color. Can you comment on that, Dr. Powell?
In terms of how it affects us, in terms of our identity?
Yeah, our self-worth, how it plays a role in shaping societal perceptions of us.
Again, okay, so then when we talk about, not only when we talk about systems, but when we talk about how the media manifests how African Americans are looked at. Has there been progress? Absolutely. I remember when I was a little girl, and I'm old. Harriet Tubman was my classmate. When you'd watch TV, I wouldn't see a lot of people that look like me. We see more of people that look like me. And I think we've done a better job of variations of what that looks like, but we still deal with the issue of what are the beauty standards? You know, what is being an African-American woman? When I look at what the beauty standards are, what comes to mind often, and it's illustrated in media, the things that we read, is blonde and blue-eyed. So if I'm a little girl and I think that that's the only way I'm going to be beautiful, then that does something to my self-esteem. But then others will be upset when they see things like Black Barbie or they see Black dolls. Well, I have to show my daughter an image of herself and keep reminding her that she too is beautiful. And I think that that perception gets jaded. Also, when you look at people that are of color that are professionals, it's really important for African-American little boys and little girls to be able to see a mirror image of themselves as it pertains to success, because they don't often see that when they're reading books or they're watching TV or they're watching movies. And so I think that those are ways that we unfortunately are looked upon. And that's why we have to stand up with a sense of pride.
You know what? I like when you said that, because there was a time where we, especially in corporate America, if we wore braids or, we wore, let's say, extensions, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, women have been wearing wigs for decades now, but if we wore the traditional, quote unquote, African-American braids, it was looked down upon because it was too ethnic. And, nowadays that has all changed. But there was a time, and maybe some companies still feel that way, but we won't go into that. But there was a time we could not truly represent who we are and the pride of where we came from. Do you want to kind of comment on that?
And I'll comment on here because I'm locked. So I do a lot of work with the United Nations, and I was working in Trinidad, Tobago, and there, people that are in high government positions, their hair is locked. Like, locked hair is not a big deal. So I asked them that question, like, who wears their hair locked? Do people that are professional? Do you see judges, blah, blah, blah? And they said to them, it's a hairstyle. Mm-hmm. What they also said, that they were surprised that in the United States, that they had to come up with a law, the Crown Act, that says that you cannot discriminate against someone because they wear braids or locks. The bottom line is this: while I was running around getting my hair pressed out, getting chemical things in there to straighten my hair was being ruined. When I locked my hair, it's in its natural state in which it has grown significantly. And let me tell you, I wore my hair natural. I've been wearing my hair natural for a very long time. And I started wearing it natural when I was in the police department, where there was a hair standard. How about this? When I was in the academy, they said you can only wear 3 braids. So in other words, you can wear your hair like this. So there was a hair standard. And when I started wearing my hair natural, I would have officers come up to me saying, "You're not going to comb your hair today?" Think about what that does to your psyche. So that makes me, if I allowed it, it would cause me to validate myself of not assimilating, and as a result of not assimilating, not being good enough or not being pretty enough, if I would have internalized that aspect of it.
Wow, that's I love how you put that. And a lot of people, they don't understand that just because they look at us as being different, and they don't give us the respect in many cases because we are different in their eyes. But I believe that we all got purpose and customs, or whatever you might want to say. We have to not be judgmental toward folks because they look different from you or they sound different from you. And I think we need to come together as a society as a whole, not just in the United States. The United States needs some help, in my opinion. I mean, I'm just going to say it. And other countries around the world, I believe that they understand and that they look at people for what they are worth, what they can bring to the table, even though we might look different or sound different. So my question to you is, how long term of societal consequences emerges that affect, our youth and our young adults? Because especially now, the election and, our president, he's my president, your president, Donald Trump, but cutting back on all initiatives that DEI, all initiatives that were put out to make the playing field even at some point. And now all of those are being taken away just because a person do not understand, or people do not understand, that these things are needed for us, all people, especially Black people in America, to have an even playing field. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, what we know in society is that when we have the ability to let the middle class thrive, regardless, when we allow people to get into that middle class area, that's where it really gives significant value to people in the United States, so to speak, right? And so with affirmative action, let's start with affirmative action. Affirmative action, what it basically said was that because in terms of numbers, we weren't being represented in a lot of spaces. And so what it really said was that when you have two people that have equal value, equal knowledge, equal skills, that for number purposes, that you should consider race, but it wasn't only race, it was also gender, right? That they would be considered to get that job. How it got translated to, if somebody walks in and they can't spell cat, but they could be part of that number, well, we're going to hire them. Huh? And so therefore that made them not qualified. That's not what affirmative action said. The same thing is going on with DEI. It's not walking in there not having the skill set, but how much more diverse and how much more quality of programming and customer service can you give when the people that you are serving are also the people that are sitting at the table making the decisions? You got to have that. And so that's what all of this is saying. But for some reason, unfortunately, it becomes intimidating that some people now are not getting jobs. We all need to be at the table, because I'm sorry, when you go into a store, there's everybody in that store, not just one race of people. So why should one race of people decide what's getting sold? I remember back in the day, remember Harriet Tubman, I would go into a department store and look for color foundation for my skin and couldn't find it. Now that time has gone on, now we have people sitting at the table saying, you know what? We need to come in with another color other than suntan.
Hold it though. We got to take a station break. Oh, no. I see Dr. Tia is smile, and she's going to come back on when we come back on. But I tell you what, this is powerful. This is vision, understanding, focus. This is what we need to be concentrating on. One world, one love. Everybody should be treated equally. Everybody should be given a chance to excel. I tell you what, you want to be part of the conversation? 1-888-344-1170. Again, that's 1-888-344-1170. It's your life, and we'll see you
with Dr. James J.C. Cooley.
A Black Man's Point of View is the newest Amazon.com #1 release and bestseller book from author Dr. James J.C. Cooley, featuring the perspective from 11 other contributing authors. In A Black Man's Point of View, Dr. James Cooley unpacks his thoughts and personal experiences about the challenges, stereotypes, and feelings of self-worth that many black men face today due to a 400-year ancestry rooted in slavery and colonization. Yet, how so many black men move forward despite this history. Most importantly, A Black Man's Point of View conveys that all men, regardless of race, creed, or color, are capable of love, respect, and dignity. Described as a map to a greater life from the heart of a man who's experienced life's misfortune and harsh conditions, James shows us how beliefs, convictions, and a healthy mentality can help propel a life worth living. A must-read for all. Order your copy of A Black Man's Point of View by author Dr. James J.C. Cooley today from Amazon.com or wherever books are sold.
Hello, welcome back to the James Cooley Show. It's your life, and I tell you, that was so much fun. Dr. Stephany Powell, you don't play. You tell it like it is. And that's how it needs to be told. That's how it needs to be told. I mean, last segment when you were talking about going into the stores looking for products and all that, they probably had only one product for black women or whatever that is. Because in a lot of people's minds, and I think they're like, oh, that's all they black, they dark, all skin color is the same. We don't need to have anything else to help out with that. I want to pick it back up with that one because I know Dr. Tia got a couple of questions that she want to ask. So if you want to be part of this conversation wherever you're at, all you do is pick up the phone, dial 1-888-344-1170, or go to the platform, go to the comments, ask any questions that you might have. I promise you we'll get you an answer. Turn it back over to you, Dr. Stephany Powell. Talk to us a little bit about going in the store, and you was on the road right there.
Yeah, it's like with stockings. Same thing with stockings. Back in the day, you wear stockings with your dresses, right? Well, for me, my choices were cinnamon or black. I can't, that's not going to work if you're 13 years old. Like black is not going to happen. But yet you saw other people were able to wear skin tone colors. I see that sometimes now, even with certain products. Like I see it, how they have, like if you don't want to wear stockings and you wear the spray-on tan thing, okay, yeah, they don't have that run right yet either. But all I'm saying is, think about this for just a moment, what that does to your psyche, because what it tells you is that you don't belong indirectly. So we're not saying that, Mrs. Smith is a racist. What we're talking about is a system, not only when we talk about laws, but even in consumerism, right? But if you had a black person at that table who is looking at that spray-on product and they go like, you know what? If we get some more melon choices, it broadens our consumerism. Heck, you'll be bringing more money in. So I'm just saying DEI, that has now become a bad word, really has its place because I think what it does, it represents and celebrates our differences, because it makes a difference of opinion. And, there's so many different people here in the United States.
And I want to say something, and I'm going to give you the floor, Dr. Tia. Dr. Powell, we talked before the show how people misunderstand what DEI is all about. It's not about giving unqualified people a job. It really isn't. If you took the time to really understand and read it on your own, besides listening to what other people saying, you will realize what exactly it is and what it is not. And with that, I'm going to give it to Dr. Tia. I think she's got a question or two for you.
Yes. So first off, let me just say I'm over here bouncing my head. Yes, like amen. I feel like I'm going to church over here. Thank you so much for speaking on this topic, because it's so needed, especially when you started talking about the hair textures and the makeup and things like that, because I'm a mom of 3 and I have my 2 daughters. They're very dark complected. And I remember very vividly that, we would go whether we were looking for hair products, or if we, if it wasn't straight, then it wasn't right. My youngest daughter, she was a cheerleader, and she had to wear her hair a certain way. And because that certain way wasn't what she could do, you would think that we committed some horrendous crime because we could not. And I remember thinking as a parent, as I'm advocating for my daughter about her, like, this doesn't work for her. She can't wear that shade of lipstick, that doesn't, because it would look ghostly on her. And I'm advocating, you're right. It also affects their mind. What is it telling the children? I just wanted to comment on that as we as parents, because I believe in each one teach one. We have to have those even in this day and age, we have to have those conversations with our children about being okay with who you are and what you look like. And it might take us a little longer to find the right shades, but using your voice to advocate and realize that you're not being unruly when you say, I can't wear that shade because that don't look right on me. It's just that it just doesn't work. So thank you for saying that, because it really hit home with me on a personal level, because like I said, my 2 youngest girls are very dark complected, was in sports. My daughter has cheered and won all type of national championships, but it was always a conversation about her hair and that lipstick, because they wanted her to look just like the blonde blue-eyed.
I know you got a question for me, but I got to say this. I went through the same thing when my daughter was a cheerleader as well. Mm-hmm. And it was the same exact thing. And I have to give a shout out to her, because my daughter has always wore her hair natural. She's 28. Mm-hmm. And even though the kids may say something to her about her natural hair, she did not care. And I'm going, like, if my daughter could do that in junior high school, I should be able to have the courage to do that. And that's why I walked into that police department with my hair natural. So go ahead. I'm sorry.
No. So I just wanted to say thank you for that. But that also kind of leads to my next question is, what you mentioned your daughter, but like, how do you begin those conversations? Because I do believe that not every moment is a teachable moment. You know what I'm saying? Although you want to take advantage of those right opportunities to have the conversation. So whether if you're in the workplace or if you're in a school setting, how do you begin those conversations? How do you say, okay, so DEI, let me really share to you, this is what it's really about. Like I said, we've talked about it and you shared it. But what are some ideas or some tools that maybe you can give us on how to get it started? Because this is what I believe. If we can start the conversation, we're making progress. So how do we begin some of those conversations? What tips do you have on beginning those conversations with people that don't look like us, that may have a harder time really understanding where we're coming from?
Well, it's a loaded question. So first of all, I think that one of the steps is that we have to really recognize that there are differences to us, and to be able to respect those differences. I think when it comes to children, we don't begin the conversation once they go to school and get called the N-word, right? Yeah. Start that conversation from the foundation of letting them know how beautiful they are just as they are. But I think what is also important in those conversations is for them to understand, because I did have the situation where my daughter was called the N-word on a school bus, where she was the only one that looked like her on that bus. Imagine how she must have felt. What she needed to understand was, even though that little boy called her that, not every little boy or girl that looks like him feels that same way about her, but to know that there are people that feel that way about her, and that's okay. That's not her problem. That's their problem. And of course, I had to handle that at the school. But I think that we need to really understand, we each need to understand that we navigate this world differently, that the key is not a simulation. Because you tell me I've got to wear bright pink lipstick that may not look good on me. I should not wear light pink lipstick so that I can assimilate, but at the same time, I'm not looking the best that I can be. So we have to start by respecting our differences without the expectation of full assimilation, because now that erases who we really are. And I think we have to, by understanding undeniably, without judgment, we understand that I navigate this thing called life differently from my white counterparts. You know, I find myself, I go to the store, I got to dress a certain way so I don't get followed, so they don't think I'm stealing. I'm over polite when I go to the hospital so I don't become the angry Black woman. But somebody else can express themselves, and all they're doing is expressing themselves. I think the most important thing is that when we speak of our experiences, we just ask people to believe us, because it's only then that we can form alliances that's going to allow us to change this ideology.
Hey, we're going to take a station break. Dr. Tia, stick around. Wow. This is such, I'm excited about this. I'm happy. I mean, I'm learning. I know you are as well. I'm looking at the map. Okay, well, you want to be part of the conversation? Pick up the phone. Go to the platform that you're watching. Go to the comments. Your life. Your life. Dr.
There's
James Cooley Show. It's Your Life can be heard every Sunday at 6 p.m. right here on 660 AM The Answer in Dallas-Fort Worth. Life is full of circles, cycles, phases, and stages. It's your choice to ignore them or embrace them. Motivational speaker, author, military veteran, and founder of the J.C. Cooley Foundation, James Cooley, and his guests will inspire and equip you to strive for your own greatness and overcome adversities. Listen to the James Cooley Show, It's Your Life, every Sunday at 6 p.m. right here on 660 AM The Answer in Dallas-Fort Worth.
James JC Cooley. That's right.
Hello, welcome back to
A Journey That Ain't Over Yet by James J.C. Cooley, available on Amazon and everywhere books are sold.
Check it out. Your life with Dr.
Hello, welcome back to the James Cooley Show. It's your life, and I tell you, wow, this discussion that we're having with Dr. Stephany Powell is what's needed. It's tremendous. These things need to be talked about because it exists in our society, and we cannot just sweep it under the rug and not be recognized, because we are part of this great nation as well. And there is systematic racism, systemic racism. This is what I believe. I had a guy to tell me the other day, Dr. Stephany, wow, there is no racism in America. This is the first best time. There's absolutely none. Now I told him, I said, are you serious? Do you understand? I said, because you're white. I'm black. I mean, you might not feel it, but until you're on the other side and you don't understand what's going on, you don't get it. You know, so this segment right here, I know Michelle wants to lead it because she's been talking about the Super Bowl ever since that happened. Well, and she want to know, it was a lot of things, symbolization that was brought out in the Super Bowl to help bring awareness to what's happening in America. And Michelle, I'm going to turn that over to you.
Well, before I discuss the halftime performance at the Super Bowl, there's a question I have for Dr. Powell. We can go on for hours or days and talk about this topic, systemic racism. But, what has come to my attention is, and I've heard a couple of our African-American men have said this. Now, I'm a firm believer, you love who you love. If you fall in love with a person, I don't care, where they're from. But it bothers me, and this could be a form, and what do you think of systemic racism when you have African-American men saying negative things about African-American women, why they won't choose them as a mate because we're difficult, we're overbearing, etc., etc. And how does that feed into systemic racism, especially about the perceptions that we are going through anyway, and how some of our men may say, oh, Black women are difficult and we're this and we're that. That's why I would never marry or date one. And my thing is like, your mother is African-American, your sister's African-American. Why would you stereotype against your own? What are your thoughts about that? And then we'll go into the Super Bowl.
So I think, unfortunately, what happens is, what is happening in society comes into our homes as well. And, and again, this is not because somebody chooses to date somebody out of their race. This has nothing to do with that. What we're talking about are the people that absolutely say, I'm not going to, because when they look at their mothers, they look at their sisters, it almost becomes a thing of self-hatred. But however, having said that, where does that come from? And where that comes from, you were talking about, identity. We're talking about systems. So you have the African-American male, and we know in society, the male is supposed to be the breadwinner. The male is supposed to be the one, bring home the bacon, taking care of everybody. But what if that male is left out because he can't get the right jobs, he can't get into the right school, he can't prepare for his family because of a system that he's fighting against? If he goes by the standards of what society says a man is supposed to be, and he's unable to feel that, then it's going to make him feel like less than a man. Then when he comes home, if he's not getting the support of his Black woman who's saying, why can't you do better? Or she's downing him, you see how it really causes a problem in a family dynamic, right? So I think, unfortunately, these systems that we have to navigate come into our home, and as a result, it's causing us to fight each other. Now, think about this. When we talk about affirmative action, if Black women are now able to get, better jobs, or to be able to get in a certain college, and our Black males are being left behind, now that puts us in a position where we might be making more money. And here's where we've got to be very careful. We still can make the money, but we still have to understand that we are also part of a family unit. So I think what happens is a misunderstanding of each other based on how we're treated on the outside. And so I think we have to look at that and really understand how much discrimination can play a part in terms of our own personal lives and how we see ourselves.
Wow. Thank you, Dr. Powell. Now let's talk about the Super Bowl halftime. Kendrick Lamar, after his performance, read social media. A lot of people loved him. A lot of people didn't understand what he was saying, oh, this was horrible, blah, 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 blah. Break it down, Dr. Powell. What do you see what he was trying to say?
Okay, well, let me say this. The week before in my class, we dissected Squabble Up. I like Kendrick Lamar, so it wasn't my first time seeing him. Unfortunately, I think I'm Dick Clark, so I still like rap music. So I knew about him. I think for people that did not know about him or do not like rap music, I think they missed some of the symbolism and some of the points. If you look at that video Squabble Up, you will see symbolism of a Black Panther. You will see the African-American flag. I mean, there's so much symbolism, and he's a storyteller. So he did the same thing in the Super Bowl. So some of the things, like for instance, having Samuel L. Jackson as Uncle Sam. Well, he also played the house Negro in Django. So here he is personifying America. He tells Kendrick, you're being too ghetto. You need to cut it back. Here goes that assimilation piece. You need to cut it back a little bit, right? And so then it was right after that, you see the Black backup dancers arranged as the American flag, and their backs are bent over because America was built on the backs of Black slaves, right? And then you also see where Kendrick is warning. I know. Uncle Sam is telling him to play the game, and Kendrick says, "I was not familiar with your game." That's that assimilation piece, right? When we look at the Squid Games, if you guys watch the Squid Games, the first thing I thought of when I watched the Squid Games is the exploitation of people, no matter what color, of the poor, having to get into debt that would do anything that, to get out of debt. And so Squid Games, that's symbolizing the rich, killing the poor. So, I mean, there's so many things, the prison yard, Serena crip walking. And think about this. When I saw her crip walking, all right, I know she's from Compton. I'm from LA. I get it. And then some people tried to make a lot of it about Drake. This was not just about Drake. Okay, so maybe she had a relationship with Drake. That's neither here nor there. But you know what is there? When she crip walked at Wilmington, they wanted to ostracize her. So what did she do? She said, okay. That's why, and I feel that's why she wore her tennis.
So she felt that she was free. We get down to the last minute of the show. This is so amazing. Hey, we got you back on the show next week because Michelle already booked it. Hey, I want our viewers and listeners to know this woman will be back next week. We will advertise. We will put it out. And I want to thank you so much, Dr. Stephany Powell. I want to thank Dr. Michelle Cooley for putting together another absolutely fantastic show. I'd like to thank all of our heroes and sheroes, Black History Month, that we need to be recognized. We need to go ahead and tell our stories. Most importantly, I'd like to thank our viewers and our listeners for tuning into the James Cooley Show, It's Your Life, Monday through Friday, 2 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, also Sunday, 6 a.m., 6 p.m. in Central Standard Time in Dallas. But I tell you what, and also AM 1170. But dream big, think big, and be big. That's everything. Oh, yeah. Your life.